Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Do Marketing Differently podcast, presented by Go Rogue X. This is the podcast dedicated to helping you do marketing differently, going rogue, making awesome, shareable content so you stand out from the crowd. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to talk to my co-host, Lauren Lewis.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I saved that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We'll keep it.
The amount of times we have to redo an intro because I stumble over my words.
Just keeps it authentic.
It really does. So thank you. Hey, thanks so much for listening and also watching. If you're not watching, you should be. We have these on our YouTube channel, so you can actually see our awesome studio space here. And we're in a new spot, partnered with Soapbox Influence in downtown Bentonville. Very exciting. Very excited to be here and partner with them. But today we're going to be talking about shareable content. How to create it, how to make it shareable, how to make it awesome and awesomely shareable. So many things. So many things we're going to talk about. So I'm very excited to jump into it.
Yeah.
What about you, Lauren?
I'm super excited.
Good.
We need to talk about shareable content because you don't want to just create content to just create content.
That's true. That's true. And make sure you share this content out if you're already watching it. If you see somebody that could benefit from it, make sure you do that. And also subscribe. I should have said that at the beginning. Dang it. I knew I almost had it. Almost had it completely, but I didn't. But anyway,
it's okay.
Make sure you subscribe and hit us up on Instagram. We'd love to know what content you're creating as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
Okay. What's our first point, Miss Lauren Lewis?
Well, it's a question to you.
Oh.
What do you consider shareable content?
So I've thought a lot about this, right? And because we've analyzed what really that psychology is of what makes people share something, right? I would say probably the first go-to is something funny. That is probably the most shared content, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Because you're on social media, you're making a connection with somebody, your friend, right? And you want them to enjoy whatever meme or some stupid video or whatever it is, right? So entertainment would be the first thing. Second thing I think would be educational. So if it's most of the time it's usually a graphic. So people are sharing graphics to their social stories or whatever that is inspirational or some type of how-to. A lot of times those are good, especially in the graphics. But if you can make it both educational and entertainment, no, is that the
No.
intercation?
No, you had it right the first time, I think.
You shook your head like, does not sound
well,
right.
I think
it didn't
you
sound
stumbled over it, so it didn't sound right. But now I'm thinking it is right.
Edutainment. No.
It's not right.
Intercation. Anyway, we're going to find that word. We're going to put it in the show notes, the correct way to say it, on GoRogueX.com on the blog there.
Right.
But yeah, if you can make it both, then obviously it makes it way more valuable and way more shareable if you can kind of combine both of those things.
Absolutely. So when we're talking about shareable content, you might think, well, I put my content out there, people will find it. Why is it important that I would make it so almost where it would go viral, which you can never make something go viral. Your audience makes it go viral. You need to always remember that.
Nice.
So I found a really cool quote that I think is important to remember. So it's from Wholesome Commerce, excuse me. It says, shareable content is important because it increases brand awareness as more people see your content. It boosts engagement with your company as many people interact with your content. It improves the chances of getting organic backlinks from new people exposed to your content. It boosts your brand's trustworthiness and authority as people see your brand plastered all over different social channels. And it attracts the attention of industry leaders and opens up opportunities like collaborations, guest post requests, or podcast interviews. That's all that shareable content does for you.
Yeah, which is a lot.
It's a lot. So just creating content to create content is a waste of your time. I'm really trying to engage your audience really should be your goal, and that's what shareable content generally is. Mm-hmm. It's stuff that your audience actually cares to share with their friends and talk about. Yeah. That's what shareable content really at the heart of it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be a wide range of things too, so it doesn't just have to be like we talked about graphics or some type of how-to. We had a post from our awesome, recording right now, Miss Abigail. She's in the studio with us, monitoring everything, making it all look good and sound good. And we shared a photo of her on our Instagram, and several people liked and commented and even shared it out. So it was one of those things of like, it doesn't always have to be, like we said, educational entertainment. It can be people who rally around somebody who really enjoy sharing their life and being in their life, like Abigail. And it is one of those things that I think is really cool. So there are a lot of factors with what makes something shareable.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about creating, you're looking at maybe your content calendar and what I'm going to create, how can you go about being strategic to create shareable content?
I would say this, if you're looking at, and this is something that we are exploring as well,
Yeah.
right? So one thing about this podcast is we are trying the things that we are talking about. Either we've had success with it or we're going through the process of it. So one of those things we really started to focus several months ago is like, what is shareable content? What is the value that I'm going to be bringing every time we post, right? And we're not always perfect, but it is one of those that is the mindset of trying to make sure it is valuable to whoever is seeing it and who our audience is. And so with that, making sure to ask those questions of, is this a problem that I'm solving? Am I helping somebody in this situation, whatever content I'm putting out there, or am I promoting somebody else? Are we promoting a lot of, guests that we have on the show? We want to make sure we promote them to our audience because a lot of times people haven't heard of them, right? And so we want to make sure that we're bringing value to somebody or some brand or business in the process of making that. But then also answering all those questions that people have, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times we have clients that are like, I would love to do Facebook Live or I would love to do podcasts, but I don't know what I would talk about. It's like, well, give me 5 of the top asked questions that you get asked every single day. Oh, we've got 20 of them. Wow, there's 20 episodes that you could walk through answering questions to help people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
So one of the things that you can do when you're thinking about making shareable content is to really be observant of what's going on. So what is actually trending? And you have to be careful with this. You don't want to go overboard.
Yeah.
And also know when a trend is dead. But something like we actually on a previous episode we actually talked about we kind of hurt Word Swag's feelings.
Oh no, sorry, Word Swag.
But it was one of those things that it was a real trend and it was like a really useful tool and everything. But once it oversaturated the market, it was time to jump from that trend and everything. Yeah. And that's not necessarily the greatest example, but really understanding that what's going on in the news, and it depends on your brand as well. You're not going, if you're a brand that does nothing within the political sphere, it may not be time to talk about the presidential election.
Yeah, true.
Just don't do that.
Well, politics in general, yeah.
Yeah,
even if you are in the political sphere,
well, yeah,
probably still be careful.
But it's just learning what's actually going on and how can my brand talk about those things that are really relevant and in people's minds because they'll most likely engage with it more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the other things that you really like to talk about is making a post controversial. So explain that because that doesn't sound good for a brand to do something controversial.
Yeah. So if you're a friend of the podcast and have been for a while, so what is my favorite example?
It's a Harry Potter example.
It's Harry Potter, right? I'm trying to think of the specific one. I've used it several times.
I know what it is.
Oh, please do tell, Harry Potter fans.
Your favorite example is to talk about generating emotion so people want to click on it because they want to either like prove you wrong or be like, I can't believe you would say that, right?
Yeah.
So your favorite example is to say why Harry should have been with Hermione instead of Ron. And I know that Harry Potter fans would jump down your throat.
Oh, absolutely.
To prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Apparently I have awoken the Harry Potter just fans. They've come out of the woodwork because of this comment.
Can you feel the presence?
I can. My wife is going to bust in here somewhere and she's
Right.
like, don't you dare talk about Harry and Hermione. Anyway, the reason I say that is because if you make a post like that,
Right.
people have an opinion one way or the other
Sure.
if they're a fan, right?
Right.
I have no opinion. I've seen them. I'm not. It doesn't matter to me. But what I'm saying is find an emotional connection with your audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whether or not it is something like that, or you're saying, hey, I don't know, this is something really gross, but prefer to put salsa on my nachos instead of ketchup, or put ketchup on your nachos instead of salt. Something that's where people are like, exactly, you're having some type of reaction right now.
Who puts ketchup on their nachos?
I did as a kid.
Ew.
It was a terrible. I know. I think I revealed that a long time ago.
Gross.
It is so gross. But what I'm saying is like you're bringing out some type of opinion that they have, right? Why Spotify is better than Apple Podcasts, right? People literally had that conversation today with somebody. Someone was like, "Oh yeah, Apple Podcasts that player is way better than Spotify," and I was like, "I don't think so necessarily." But everybody has opinions about that. That's one of those things where you can put something that is going to bring out some type of emotional reaction. People want to engage with that, right? All of a sudden, when you find your community, they will absolutely have opinions about what you're saying. Right. And it doesn't necessarily need to bring the education, but a lot of times comments and people interacting with each other can then be the shareable content, be the engaging content that you need.
Dang.
Yeah, man,
There you
I'm 2
go.
for 2 today. Okay. All right, the next one's going to be terrible. Just
Okay.
get ready.
Well, so something that we play around with all the time is we talk about what makes a great headline or title. It's really important, especially in our culture where attention spans are becoming shorter and shorter. A headline means a lot. So I found a really cool quote. It says 10% of headlines account for 90% of social shares and engagement. Another analysis by Backlinko revealed 1.3 of articles generate 75% of all social shares. Worse, 59% of people share content based on the headline alone without reading a single word more.
So terrible.
What's the lesson of all this? Write a great headline or forget about your shares.
Well, that or boomers need to not be on Facebook
All right,
anymore.
calm down.
Anyway, there's my emotional response to it.
Yes, right, right.
No, I completely agree. Gosh. It is one of those that, oh, goodness. I have so many opinions.
Yes.
Go. Why don't you tell me your...
Well, I mean, it really comes down to that attention span. You think about looking at a magazine cover of why would you buy that magazine, and it's because of all those headlines that are on there.
That's a great example.
That's all that makes you purchase the magazine.
Yep.
That's it. And so we think about this a lot with podcast episodes. How do we title these episodes so that you'll click on it? Because we don't ever want to trick people. We're not about clickbait where you click on something and it's completely something else. That's not good at all. But we want to make it engaging. And like you said earlier, we want to evoke emotion. And that can be really difficult to do. And so actually in this same article, which we will link in the show notes, they talked about how some people will take almost an hour to sometimes journalists to title their work. And so because it's that important.
Yeah.
So it's the same with your social, is that first line, whether that be your title or the first line of your caption, is super important.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and actually a friend of the show, Pat Flynn, been in episode 15. Make sure you guys go back and listen to that one.
Sure.
He actually said, and he has said this before, is before he even does a podcast recording, he writes the headline for it.
Yeah.
And then he works backwards from that because the headline is so important. Just like creating the content is 20% of it, 80% of it is promoting it, right? So that headline has to be on point. It has to have some type of value and evoke some type of emotion. I mean, we go back and forth all the time on headlines, and some work and some don't. The beauty of podcasts in general is you can go back and change your headlines.
Absolutely.
Blog posts, you can change those headlines.
Yeah.
You can change that to see what actually, because if you know your content is good, you have to make sure that that headline is right on point with it as well.
Right, and also be thinking about your industry, if in the sphere that you're in, if you're competing in a very populated space, your headline is going to be even more important. So we're in marketing, and so we have a lot of competitors that are talking about similar things, but we want to make sure we differentiate ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, you can talk about, a podcast titled "The Cons of TikTok," or you could do something similar where you could say why TikTok is going down in flames this year.
Yeah.
Which one's going to get more clicks?
Yeah.
Obviously, the last one.
Oh,
that's way more
absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's just it. Think like a human does, like you do. What are you going to click on? What are you going to go through? And we say it a lot of times with podcasts and podcast descriptions as well. I'll see a headline. I'm like, oh, that's intriguing. What's the episode about? And look in the summary to see whether or not I'm going to listen to that episode. So,
Okay. So one of our last things that we're really excited about here is we like to make really cool content.
Yes.
And it can be very exciting to make crazy content.
It's so exciting.
But what would be a good place for someone to start for shareable content that looks well designed? Because that's also going to be, people want to share pretty content as well, but pretty or beautifully designed is a very subjective term.
Yes, it is. Hire a designer.
There you go.
Know your audience. And then also just really kind of see what's trending in your industry. Yeah. You don't always have to follow the trends, but you definitely want to shake things up a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
So you do want it to be noticeable. You do want it to be like something that is a little more cutting edge.
Right.
But yeah, exactly. Know your industry and know exactly where they're going, what they're clicking on, and because it's different for every single industry. Like we have a wide range of clients that are completely different in so many different areas, right? And so I think we've learned that, and we're still even trying to figure that out too. And so that's something that's an ongoing process. So don't beat yourself up, but try it and make sure that it matches brand colors, matches your brand vibe in general.
Sure.
Don't go too crazy. Yeah. But follow some trends, but don't, know when the trend is dead to move on.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah.
This is such a good episode.
Yeah, it was
It was
great.
Quick hitting.
Yeah.
Right in there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know. Give us some feedback, right? We want to know what you want us to talk about, what things we want to be able to dive deeper into on the marketing trends in general. So hit up gorogex.com. Make sure you guys check out the blog. Everything we've talked about today will be there. All the quotes, all the descriptions, an amazing headline for this episode is going to be there.
No pressure for us.
No pressure, because we did the opposite of what Pat Flynn says. Sorry, Pat. Sorry about that. Anyway, but until next week, we'll see you then. Thanks.